A reading from the second book of Kings. Naaman, commander of the army of the king of Aram, was a great man and in high favor with his master, because by him the Lord had given victory to Aram. The man, though a mighty warrior, suffered from leprosy. Now the Arameans on one of their raids had taken a young girl captive from the land of Israel, and she served Naaman's wife. She said to her mistress, "If only my Lord were with the prophet who is in Samaria, he would cure him of his leprosy." So Naaman went in and told his Lord just what the girl from the land of Israel had said. And the king of Aram said, "Go then, and I will send along a letter to the king of Israel." He went, taking with him 10 talents of silver, 6,000 shekels of gold, and 10 sets of garments. He brought the letter to the king of Israel, which read, "When this letter reaches you, know that I have sent to you my servant Naaman, that you may cure him of his leprosy." When the king of Israel read the letter, he tore his clothes and said, "Am I God to give death or life, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Just look and see how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me." But when Elisha, the man of God, heard that the king of Israel had torn his clothes, he sent a message to the king, "Why have you torn your clothes? Let him come to me, that he may learn that there is a prophet in Israel." So Naaman came with his horses and chariots and halted at the entrance of Elisha's house. Elisha sent a message to him saying, "Go, wash in the Jordan 7 times, and your flesh shall be restored, and you shall be clean." But Naaman became angry and went away, saying, "I thought that for me he would surely come out and stand and call on the name of the Lord of his God, and would wave his hand over the spot and cure the leprosy. Are not Abana and Pharpar, the rivers of Damascus, better than all the waters of Israel? Could I not wash in them and be clean?" He turned and went away in a rage. But his servants approached him and said to him, "Father, if the prophet had commanded you to do something difficult, would you not have done it? How much more when all he said to you was, 'Wash and be clean'?" So he went down and immersed himself 7 times in the Jordan, according to the word of the man of God. His flesh was restored like the flesh of a young boy, and he was clean. The word of the Lord.
Thanks be to God.
In the first reading for this morning, we hear the story of Naaman. Naaman was a man of power, a commander, a national hero. He had the respect of kings, the loyalty of soldiers, the admiration of his people. But he also had a problem he couldn't command away. Naaman was a leper. It was the kind of disease that marked him, slowly exiled him, made him unclean, no matter how many medals he might wear. Naaman carried both dignity and disgrace in his body. So when he heard there might be a prophet in Israel, someone who could heal what even Damascus could not, he came with a procession, horses, chariots, silver and gold. He came prepared to pay for a miracle. He took with him a letter from one king to another, from the king of Aram to the king of Israel. "When this letter reaches you," it said, "know that I have sent to you my servant Naaman, that you may cure him of his leprosy." But the king of Israel, being a typical politician, assumed that there was more at work here than this simple request of one king for another. He tore his clothes, we are told, and he said, "Am I God to give death or life, that this man sends word to me to cure a man of his leprosy? Just look and see how he is trying to pick a quarrel with me." But Elisha, hearing about this, sent word. Naaman waited outside Elisha's house, expecting some dramatic ritual, some divine performance. But Elisha didn't even come to the door. Instead, just a messenger, with a simple command: "Go, wash in the Jordan 7 times, you'll be clean." That was it. No ceremony, no laying on of hands, no mention of the name of God, not even Elisha, just a plain command given through a servant. Like most of us would probably be, Naaman was insulted, offended, angry. Weren't the rivers back home in Damascus better than this muddy little stream? Weren't there cleaner waters for a man of his stature? But someone traveling with him, a servant, not a soldier, spoke up. If the prophet had asked something hard, wouldn't you have done it? Why not try something simple? So Naaman went down to the Jordan. He entered the water, a man still wrapped in pride and doubt and desperation. One dip, then two, then three, still nothing. 4, 5, 6, nothing yet. But on the 7th time he came up whole. His skin was restored, and so was something deeper, something that had been diseased in him long before the leprosy. A few weeks ago I said goodbye to Rob Schwarz, a friend and colleague of more than 40 years. Rob's funeral was held at his home parish in Newtown Square, a suburb of Philadelphia. I first met Rob in 1983, so it was a little difficult sitting in the pews of that church, imagining him as a little boy running around, annoying the adults during worship. But then again, Rob sort of specialized in annoying adults. It is, of course, a long drive from Michigan to Newtown Square, and the drive home gave me plenty of time to wander through a lifetime of memories of my friend. Somewhere along the way, I remembered that when Rob and his family spent a year in Haiti, he had emailed me 3 or 4 times a week. Somewhere in my computer files, I had all of those emails, 200 pages of them I discovered when I got home. Jean, Rob's wife, asked me to print them out and send them to her, so I did. But before taking them to the post office, I spent some time reading through them. I am reminded of one of those emails, written less than a month after they arrived in Haiti. There was one night earlier this week, Rob writes. I woke up in the middle of the night, and it was a perfect night for fears. I heard helicopters going over low nearby, a volley of gunshots further off, a single shot closer, and then a pack of wild dogs barking close. I felt far from the supports and securities we take for granted. What if something happens? What if I make an enemy, even unknowingly? Poison, machetes, 9mm, bacteria, dengue fever, malaria, car accident. What if? What if? When it's dark here, it's dark. And then I thought, he goes on, and then I thought I should really be saving this fear for when something happens. Then I thought, but even when something is happening, fear is not much comfort. So I went to sleep. Rob and Jean and the kids were living in the midst of real danger, gunfire, unrest, wild dogs in the streets, and that night Rob found himself spiraling in fear. But then he realized something. Even if something were to happen, the fear would not help. And so he let it go. Not out of caution, not out of concern, but he let go of control. And in that surrender, Rob found sleep. Sometimes the healing we need most begins not with a cure, but with the surrender of control. That is, of course, a hard lesson to learn, and having known Rob for so many years after their time in Haiti and before, I am fully aware that it was a lesson that he had to learn over and over and over again. And just like him, it is a lesson that I've had to learn over and over and over again. Sometimes the healing we need most begins not with a cure, but simply with the surrender of control. But how precisely do we do that? How, in a society and in a culture that is so focused on control, how do we let it go? How do we surrender? Perhaps the place to begin is with the water. Maybe this morning, each of us is being invited to ask, what's the Jordan that I'm being asked to enter? What is the fear that I keep rehearsing? What's the outcome that I am trying to control? And just maybe, what might happen if, just for a moment, I stopped trying to fix it, to manage it or to make it make sense, and simply stepped out into the water. Not because I'm certain, not because it makes sense, but simply because sometimes grace is hiding in the very thing that I've been resisting. 7 times Naaman dipped, and when he came up the 7th time, something in him had been healed that was far deeper than his skin. May it be so for us. Until next time, here is a short poem by Denise Levertov. It is called The Avowal. As swimmers dare to lie face to the sky and water bears them, as hawks rest upon air and air sustains them, so would I learn to attain free fall and float into Creator Spirit's deep embrace, knowing no effort earns that all-surrounding grace.